to the Forward Together podcast. We're here with a special episode, number 18. It is our first live interview with both of us here. Pastor Rob did one when I was traveling out of town, but you got both of us.
Yep.
Who knows what that's going to be? We don't know where this train's going, but we're excited about it. And Pastor Rob, tell us what we got going on.
Thank you, Jamie. So this weekend we had Pastor Jason Lee here with us at the Rocky Mountain Church of God. He was our guest speaker. We had a little reunion this weekend here with some friends from college, and Jason's part of that group. It's like, while you're in town, I want you to preach for us. And so in addition to that, while you're here, we want to get you on the podcast. We want our audience to get to know you better. So appreciate you tuning in today. So Pastor Jason, welcome to the Forward Together podcast.
Thank you.
Welcome. First guest for both of us.
Yep.
I don't think that gets you anything. Like that and a couple bucks probably won't even get you a cup of coffee. But we're glad you're here with us.
That's right.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. It's just it's good to be with good people.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. With a lot of good people around here. We got a lot of
Pastor Rob. Like, hey, standards are low for just kidding.
All right, Jason, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your family, and just tell us about you. Where'd you grow up, and just tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, I grew up in North Georgia, little town, Somerville, and always been in the church, always been a part of the Church of God, and grew up till about sixth grade in Somerville, and then about that time, my dad had accepted a call into ministry, and we went into an MIP program for a couple of years, and then my dad accepted a position in a town just north of us in Lafayette, and finished out the rest of my time there. But I've got three brothers. They all have big families. My mom's went on to be with the Lord. She I'm looking forward to being with her in heaven, and then my dad is he's still around and still a big part of our lives, and he's still in the ministry, and we still work together a lot. So
very cool. So we've met a couple times, kind of just as you've kind of been here at the church. So tell me about your family.
Yeah, well, I've got a beautiful wife.
Okay.
Of, let's see, it'll be 24 years.
Yeah.
24 years
August.
That we've been married, and about 26 years we've been together. We've been together since I was about 17, she was about 15. So we've been together.
Okay. Before we days.
Yes.
So she didn't go there for an MRS degree. That used to be the joke when I was that age.
Nope. So we've been together all those years. We were married roughly 10 or 11 years before we had a kid, and our family had almost given up hope on us having kids, but it wasn't one of those things where we said we were never going to have kids. We knew we wanted kids, but we just waited till we got done with school and got involved in our jobs. We both became teachers, but now I have 4 beautiful children.
Oh wow!
So we made up for lost time.
Yes, you did.
And I've got a 12-year-old daughter, and an 8-year-old daughter, a 6-year-old daughter, and a 2-year-old son. So.
Woo! That means you'll be on Social Security when you graduate.
Yeah. That's okay.
That's you walking with the cane across the.
Jamie don't hold back. He don't pull any punches.
Hey,
dishes it out.
Hey, it's going to keep me youthful.
That's absolutely.
It's going to keep me
awesome.
young. It's going to keep me young.
He's like, man, I don't know this guy. Like, where's he going?
You joke with me, but I would have another one if she'd let me.
Oh wow! Okay.
She won't let me. So
yeah.
I guess she has some. Yeah, I guess she has some say so in that.
A little bit, yes. That process might be a little rough for her.
Yeah.
So you guys were married when you came to Lee. You just got married. So she graduated high school, if I remember the story. Mm-hmm. And May or June, you got married, started Lee in August, right? And plus, you're both working full time college students. Mm-hmm. Tell our audience how you and Teresa met. That's a pretty cool story.
Okay. Well, we met at church. Her family was very rooted in a church, but they left because they wanted to go somewhere that had youth ministry, active youth ministry. They had 4 daughters, and so they wanted to go somewhere that had active youth ministry. They found Lafayette because, our towns are not too far apart, 20 minutes apart. Yeah. And they found an active youth ministry there at Lafayette, and our youth ministry was very active. And of course, my age, you noticed all the pretty young girls, but
yes.
obviously I knew who she was and had an eye for her. They had been coming, but we had a big Winterfest trip. We went to Winterfest, and I actually credit this one young man. His name's Cole Bowman, and I credit him with kind of putting us together, because he kind of knew I kind of liked her, and he kind of knew she kind of liked me, and then so that the big Winterfest trip was a very spiritually deep time, but it ended with we ended with like a little hug. That's and that's when her dad knew. Oh no! I've sent my daughter to Winterfest.
Hey, guys, I talked about today. Winterfest deepens relationships.
Yeah,
they kind of go both ways.
Yeah. So, but and then so we started talking after that, and the rest is kind of history. So
Yeah, cool. So you've been in ministry now for 16, 17 years as far
Thereabouts,
as that position.
Yep.
He served as a youth pastor and now as a pastor. But go back before then. I don't know if it was your lead days or even before that time. When do you feel God began to tug on your heart and say, this is what I'm called to do? I'm called to go into ministry, because history, you came to Lee like I did as a history major, and you had a passion to teach, and you wanted to teach, you wanted to coach baseball. That was kind of your dream thing. But in the process, you had that season of your life. But in addition to that, you were also a full-time pastor. And you had a family growing. So it was an overwhelming kind of season. I know you shared that with me before, but tell folks about how you knew God had called you.
Okay, well, I knew God had called me at a pretty early age. I got baptized and filled with the Holy Spirit. They had an evangelist come when I was probably around 12 or 13 years old to Lafayette. His name was Kevin Magnus. I don't know if he's still around or not. I've not heard him since. If you're watching. So, but anyways, he came to the church, and he had an altar call, and I had been around Pentecostalism, but I went down and before you knew it, I had stammering lips and stammering tongues, and I got filled with the baptism of the Holy Spirit, and I knew pretty early on that God had a call in my life. I was very active in the youth ministry, still close to my youth pastor. He pastors a church of God in North Carolina now, and I was a leader in his youth ministry and helped a lot and got to speak at times, and I knew pretty early on that I had a call in my life, but I'd also been raised in the church and had always been around it, and I didn't want to have the faith of my parents. I wanted to have my own faith, and so I didn't want to, my dad had came into the ministry, and I just wanted there to be authenticity in my walk with God. And so I guess probably in hindsight, if I had to be honest about it, I probably should have answered the call sooner. But I wasn't ready to answer that call. And even though I loved the Lord and I was close, and in fact, I was probably at my closest with the Lord after that Winterfest trip and getting with Teresa. I was very, very close, and I knew there was a call in my life, but I was hesitant to do it, and I wanted to work it all out. As they say, work out your own salvation with fear and tremble before the Lord. And I had some questions, being a young man, and I wanted answers before I just went into ministry. I wanted to be able to give an account for why I believed what I believed, and a defense, as the scriptures tells us to do. And honestly, I guess because I worked full time all the way through college, I didn't have the same Lee experience that you did. Right. I was married. My wife was married. My wife was married. We were married.
And working.
That's what I was getting at. That's what I was getting at. We were both working full time as married students, and actually
living off campus in the apartment.
Living off campus in the apartment. And for a long time there at Lee, I was kind of secluded from any kind of campus life or any kind of connection
until
honestly, we met in, I guess the
very first class
we ever had.
It was a 9-10
Renaissance
Ren Ref with Dr. Hoffman.
Yep, Renaissance and Reformation.
Yep, history class.
And we had a lot in common.
Yep.
And I think at some point
we also had the next class with Dr. Walkus.
Dr. Walkus, we did.
Which was early American.
Yep.
Early American period.
So all three of you guys that were there for history majors had classes together?
Yeah, all three of us. We sure did. How
Yeah,
about that?
that's great. You guys probably had a lot of stuff together.
Am I lost on something?
He's cracking on us. All three of us history majors.
Yeah, it's like all three of the people that
Cracking
went.
on history majors.
I
I
got
was like
you.
all three of the people that went to Leap were history majors. Figured you guys had a lot of classes together.
Hey, I had two brothers follow me, and they were both history majors
right.
as well. So
Well, Cody, not Cody, but Patrick was in the Hoffman class. We
He
were all
was.
three in there. Yeah.
he was. Yeah, he lived in Cleveland at the
I
time.
also like to use number 3 because we have like 3 listeners.
Okay.
That listen to the podcast. So I'm guessing Kevin's probably not one of them. But if one of the 3 can find that guy, then we'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
Dude, so that's a lot. That's a very different Lee experience, because I grew up in the Church of God. So a lot of my friends went to Lee. So what kind of so I know you're a pastor now, but you also do other things. What's your work history look like along with all that? So,
Well, as I was sharing there, I worked all through
Right.
that period. I worked at Walmart, and I had entered into what they call the first in line management program, where they trained me in every area of the store, and the agreement was I'm going to become a store manager whenever I graduate.
Okay.
From school, and that was kind of the plan. Most people don't know this, but like careers at Walmart, being a manager, pretty lucrative.
did you? This is not to derail this.
Yeah.
They just announced store managers are going to make over $600,000 now.
Yeah, so and I guess
Crazy.
it's becoming kind of known now. But
Yeah.
my I had my aim the 200.
yeah.
$200,000 a year, and that's kind of where I had my aim set as I worked through college, working at Walmart that entire time, and that's where I had kind of thought I would land. And one of the last courses I was in at Lee was one of the mandatory Bible classes they required to have, a Christian ethics course.
Yep.
And we had to give a defense in the course for basically he would give topics, and you had pro and against the topic.
Yep.
And I got handed the topic of homosexuality, and
You were assigned which side you could be on, so you couldn't choose to be against it. Did he assign you to be for it?
he did. He assigned me to be for it, and so I did my due diligence, and I like to argue, and I like
Yeah, and let me just tell Audie, the purpose of that is not because we feel like that lifestyle is acceptable. It's to help teach you how to debate and to look at an issue from both sides.
Right.
That's the purpose of the
Yeah.
class.
Okay.
Yeah, not to just. It kind of like what was the whole reason I had not accepted my call to ministry was I wanted to be able to work that out, and so that properly allowed you to do that because as I went to give my argument, it bothered me that the people I was against, I was winning the argument. It was bothering me, so I began to tell them how to beat me, because I had done
The good side was losing, is what you're saying.
Yes. I was like, well, there's ways to refute what I'm saying, and this is how you do it. And the teacher's like, whoa. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to stand in front of a whole class of people and let them leave here with me convincing them of anything else. So that kind of led to a relationship between me and the professor, Dr. Coulter, at that time.
Yeah.
And he offered me a scholarship, and this was not in my plans at all, to enter into a new theological program they had in the master's program.
Okay.
My wife still had, I had went to community college before Lee. She was a little behind me, and it just seemed to work out that I could get a master's degree by the time that she graduated.
Yeah.
So the Lord was in that. He grabbed a hold of me, pulled me into that, opened my mind and to the world of philosophy and theology, and God just began to download stuff into me. And little did I know He's equipping me for my calling, because I'm going to be a store manager at Walmart. That's still what I'm thinking,
Right.
And this little church I grew up in, where I pastor now, Berryton, had not been there in years. And I mean, I would have told you Somerville's the last place in the world that I'm going back to. I'm like, I'm moving on to bigger, better things. I'm not going back to this place. So he calls me out of the blue, the pastor there, and he says, the Lord's moved on my heart and to allow some young men to preach, and I can't get you out of my mind. I want you to, and honestly, and if I'm being, no, it was Brother Gleason Maxwell.
Brother
Gleason Maxwell. This is prior.
Wow, okay.
It's Brother Gleason Maxwell, and he pastored there 30 years. He was nearing the end of his tenure. He dies not long after he retires from Berryton. But just out of the blue, and I go down there, and quite honestly, I was not probably in a spiritual place that I needed to be to go and preach, but I revered the Lord enough that I'm not going to say no, and if I'm going to say yes, I'm going to do it right.
You're going to get ready.
I'm going to get ready. Yeah, stay ready. Yeah, so that's kind of true. I got ready.
You've stayed ready,
and the Lord. That was the Lord's way of kind of,
Yep.
So all the Berryton Watt viewers right now, because you're checking out your interview with your pastor, get ready and stay ready.
Yes, and let's move forward together.
Forward together. That's right.
That was when I worked for T-Mobile for a long time, and our bosses had it was a stay ready, so you don't have to get ready. That was I was like, I had flashbacks to my old T-Mobile days. That's not a good thing. I had flashbacks. So you talked about when you're preaching today. I thought this was theoretical, but apparently I learned this is not. You do something with flagging. You have a company, part of a company. What do you do now besides pastor?
Okay, yeah. So we can skip forward past a lot of things, but
Never became a store manager at Walmart.
never became a store manager at Walmart. Through a series of events, ended up back at Berryton, all starting with that moment.
Okay.
Yeah, and leading me into the ministry. In the meantime, I became a teacher.
Oh.
Yeah, I was a techer.
So now you guys have that in common.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
At some point, you both teachers.
Yeah, I did teach history. I did teach science, and the Lord even opened the door, and I got to coach high school baseball.
Yep. Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things. I make a joke about this because I don't know if you ever watched the movie Field of Dreams, but they go after Moonlight Graham, and in the movie Moonlight Graham, I don't know if you're familiar with the movie,
Yeah.
but
Jamie's not a baseball guy. But
okay,
go ahead.
well,
I understand why you guys are friends.
yeah.
It started to make a lot of sense.
Yeah,
I wonder
so
why I'm here. Maybe I should step out.
Well, just quit cracking on us. We'll be all right.
well, anyways, Moonlight Graham. If there's this voice, James Earl Jones. If you build it, they will come. And Moonlight Graham is a guy who got a cup of coffee in the majors. And this mythical story here involves these players coming back. They're coming out of the corn stalks, kind of, and they didn't get to fulfill their dreams or whatever. And they give this. He's an old doctor at this point.
Okay.
An old doctor. And he had went on to save many lives and affect many lives being a doctor. But he gets this opportunity to go back to his prime and on the field as a baseball player. But as he's there playing in the game and just enjoying his dream of playing in the major leagues with all these other players on the field of dreams, Kevin Costner, who's the main actor in the movie, his daughter begins to choke on a hot dog. And the doctor sees him choking, and he goes to step over the line. And it's kind of like everybody all of a sudden understood that once he crosses that line, he can't go back. And so he's kind of stepping out of being the ball player into being the old doctor again.
Okay.
And he comes over and saves the young girl. And they're sad for him. And he's like, don't be sad for me, because this was my calling.
Right.
And I kind of feel like, the Lord gave me an opportunity to do that. And as much as I would love to be a Hall of Fame baseball coach or something and be involved in it every day, that's not my calling.
There's still time, though.
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah. I mean, you don't, but and who knows? You're right. Who knows? But it's not my calling. It's not my
Right.
It's not what the Lord has called me to do. And so, but after teaching for 12 years, I was ready for change. The pandemic happened, and the Lord. I was literally playing get me out of these four walls, because that's what I felt like teaching was. I was in four walls all the time, and I got a call from a friend that I went to high school with that had worked at Walmart with me, and he had started a very successful company. And he wanted me to come and run it.
Nice.
And I run traffic control in Chattanooga now.
Very cool.
Yeah, in addition to being a full-time pastor. So, we get out and
Chattanooga. Is that close to? I don't know where is it.
I'm tucked away in northwest Georgia.
Okay.
So we can be to Chattanooga or Alabama. We can be Tennessee, Alabama pretty quick either way.
I drive through Chattanooga quite a bit.
Yeah.
Traffic control there. That's something.
Yeah.
It's a pretty hectic place.
Oh yeah. It's not an Atlanta or anything. But
No, it's still though. It's
Yeah.
quite a bit.
So I'm flagging traffic there, and then as I said this morning, I'm boldly standing at the gates of hell and redirecting traffic there as well.
I was joking with him because I was like, I thought it was a great illustration. I didn't know that was actually. I didn't know it was that kind of real.
Yeah,
it's like, no, he's like, that's what he does. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, we even made our VBS this last year. We used all our signs and barrels and things.
Oh, perfect.
We talked about, God leading your way and your path. Yeah, that was
cool.
we did our own. Yeah, we did our own because we usually buy the themes. We did our own one this year. We came up with our own based off the years of doing the other ones.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. Well, Pastor Jason and I have been friends a long time. So, like you heard him say, we met in our first history class at Lee. Our very first semester, we had similar paths. We both played baseball in high school. We both went to community college. Then we both landed at Lee. Your experience is different being a married student, working full-time. I was just a full-time student, a single full-time student living in the dorms on campus and having that experience. But, through the years, we've both been involved in ministry together. We've both preached at one another's churches. Every church I've been at, Parrott, Suffolk, and here, he's ministered. He's ministered in our VBSs at Parrott and at Suffolk. You guys came to Suffolk and did a youth revival with your students. We had a great time. But one of the funny things him and I have talked about through the years was his desire was always to leave, to go, to get out of Northwest Georgia. He was open to going anywhere. My desire originally was let's stay put. Like it was like I was okay staying in Pulaski County. He wanted out, but the opposite was what God had in mind. I left and he stayed, and now here we are. I've been here at Rocky Mount 10 years this month, and we love it here. This is home, and you're still plugging away there, and where God's got you. And so, you just real quick, I know we're getting a little long today, but tell the audience, just a little bit about what Berryton Church of God is like, kind of what your community is like, just real quick.
Oh yeah, so Berryton's you may even ask some people that live in Somerville, and they may not know where Berryton's at because it was a textile community that solely existed for the textile mill that was there.
Railroads come through.
Yep, railroad comes right through. And Mill Village, all the mill houses, all that sort of thing. But the textile industry is gone. It's evaporated. There's a recycling. Now Berryton consists of 4 churches, and all the old mill houses are still there.
Yeah, people.
And but saying all that, we're still only 5 minutes from the heart of Somerville, Georgia, from the heart of town. And our church has a rich history. It started as a Sunday school in 1915.
Oh wow!
In 1915. There was a lady who she saw a need for kids to have somebody to teach them. She started a Sunday school in 1915. By 1918, it was an organized church with a pastor, and we still have descendants of that lady in our church.
Praise the Lord.
Yep, and that are involved in that church. And like I said, I got reconnected to that church through Brother Maxwell having me back. Of course, life moved on and finished a master's degree, and then I got lured back by the next pastor, Pastor Cox, and became his youth man. And again, so it was, we had that moment where you were trying to stay in that one area. I had a moment where I'm trying to get out, and we had shared that spiritual. Yeah, we shared that spiritual moment where I think God's got a sense of humor because I think I'm going to be stuck here because no matter how much I tried to get away, God keeps pulling me back. And I think God's got stuff for you to move on to bigger, better things, and that's been true. Mm-hmm. It's been very true. Yeah. And
it's interesting though. I mean, and this is not joking, but Pulaski, where we're both from, I know Parrott, but it's part of Pulaski, very much like Berryton.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of boomtown when it was textile mills, railroad coming through. After NAFTA, basically all the textile mills are now gone. If it wasn't for Volvo, it would be Berryton. It would be shut down. So another parallel, you guys. Very connected.
Yep, very connected.
So we heard a little bit as we've talked about how you guys met. Are there any funny stories? I know there's a text message story that you can't talk about. However, is there any,
off camera, you'll hear that story off the record.
Are there any funny stories that you can tell on the record?
Oh,
anything comes to mind? If not, that's understandable too.
You tell. I mean, whatever. We've been to battlefields, cemeteries.
I do. To this day, my phone picture for you is still your head that wouldn't fit in the cannon. My head would fit all the way up in it, so he's got a much bigger head than I do.
Yeah.
So I might be bigger in other areas.
He's got no hair. You thought it was slid right in there.
You would have thought. Yes.
Guess you'd have found some butter going on there.
Still.
Big head.
But we've had a lot of good times. I know that. It's been great to have because I wasn't connected to anybody at least. So
so just tell that story about how you got part of the group, and now we're all still together.
You invited me to play softball and play intramural sports with you guys. I've always been a huge sports person, and it gave me an outlet for that. And
he was our first baseman. I was the shortstop. We won one championship.
Yeah,
and a basketball one.
Yeah. We always did well. Yeah,
I was on the bench. But
I was going to say, dude, there's no chance.
In basketball, you mean?
Yeah, basketball. I was on the bench.
He's like basketball championship. I'm like, what? Are you guys like playing like the preschool?
That's another story.
Yeah,
but softball was definitely.
Let's just say we did win a championship. Leave it at that.
Okay.
Softball was our thing for sure.
Yeah.
So, and it's cool because we still get together every year and have a little reunion with those guys, with Mike and Stephen and Milton and Brian, and it's been great. So,
yeah, kind of come together from across the country, really. So,
yeah. Well, one more question. We want to wrap this episode up here in just a few moments. So, you're a husband. You're a father of 4 wonderful children. You're a full-time pastor. You're full-time. Working, directing, managing a flag and crew, and you got your own life, hobbies, and things to take care of. What are some things that you do? Just kind of a way to help our listeners. What are some things in a full life? I don't like to use the word busy, but a very full life that you have. What do you do to manage your stress, to recharge your batteries spiritually? And what advice would you have for anybody who feels like they got too much they're trying to juggle? Because I know you've been there, and you're kind of. It's seasons of it. You're in the middle of it. Other times you've got a good balance. So you're never really balanced. But tell our audience what would you advise?
Okay, so I guess the stress thing comes for me pretty easy. I don't stress about things for the most part. I'm not a high-strung person, but I think that if you're not careful, your spiritual life can suffer. And you said you don't like to use the word busy, but your spiritual life can suffer because you have so many priorities, and you can get things to where you're not prioritizing the right things enough. And even though everyone, it's kind of like the whole thing. I heard T.D. Jakes say one time that, first of all, you've got to, if you're a man, you've got it tough because our job is to provide, and when we leave to provide for our family, we're not there. So we've got to leave to provide, but then they want us there. They want our presence. But if we're there, we can't provide.
Right.
And so men are always trying to find that balance.
That's good.
Trying to find that balance because they need us. Fathers are important. It's important that we're a caring husband and a doting father. It's important that we're there. But at the same time, we do have to provide. And that's something that I have made a conscious decision to do. I pray that I'm able to be more full-time in ministry because I am full-time in ministry, but I also work a full-time job.
Right.
And I pray that can shift a little. Maybe I work a little less and do ministry a little more. I pray for that opportunity, but, right now that allows me to provide for my family the right way while also allowing, a church and the community like I minister in to be able to fully function and have all its ministries while having a full-time pastor. And you got to give your all to whatever you're doing. So you're right, there has to be some sort of disciplines in there. I think, I'm not one of these people that make lists and that write things out. I think probably people who do that are more successful at accomplishing those things. But I try never to let a day pass without accomplishing something towards the goals of what I've got. Yeah, so like every day. And then honestly, and you were talking about this yesterday, maybe you're not doing this well enough, is I focus on trying to get good sleep. Good sleep helps me to do everything that I do properly.
Yeah. Dude, I told him, I saw his email this morning. I'm like, somebody's up too late.
So I try to make sleep a priority. I try to go to bed about the same time and get up about the same time every single day. I've had some health problems recently, and that's one of the things that has really helped me is the rest properly, and then to try to do the things I'm supposed to do. But the big thing is beyond sleep on the spiritual side of things is just keeping the main thing the main thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Keeping the main thing the main thing. So.
All right. Cool. Awesome, man. Yeah. Well, that is it. That is the pod episode number 18. Super happy, easy for me to say. The pastor, Jason, joined us today. It was great to hear you preach. and come out. So if you stayed this far, all 3 to 4 of you, hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.